Hey everyone, if it's your first time here, welcome to the channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create variables and use them to comment on your reports. So if you click a button here, you can pass some comments using variables, using Qlik Automation, and get some very pretty emails like this. Notify whoever you want. If you want to go more advanced, you can use Infinity. So I work for Infinity, and you can create things like this, a table that will save your comments, and you can add the messages, click a button, and it will just do whatever you want. And first, if you like this kind of content, I'd like to ask you to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and check out my other videos after you finish this one. There's a lot of good content here about Qlik and tips. So let's start. I have a very simple table. It could be anything. In this case, I have a list of purchase orders and work orders. So nothing special here. First step is to create a new automation. I'm in the Infinity tenant. I'll create here a blank automation in my personal space. And it could be anything. I'll just call it my first automation. And the first step here is to change the run mode to triggered. Click Save. And now we can trigger this automation using the parameters, but Qlik automatically identifies it from the app. So I will now just from scratch add a new button that you can find here under Dashboard Objects. And this button can do a lot of different things. One of them is to execute automations. So in this list, you can scroll down until you find Execute Automation. Let me remove my webcam from here. And I should be able to find here my automation. One second, where is it? Well, this is very interesting. I can't find it. I tried to run a first time here, but still didn't show up. Second part, or second idea would be to copy the ID of this automation and paste it in here. So it would normally show up here, but you can also just use the ID of the automation. If you click this button, it will take you to the automation itself. This is what we needed. And now this means that if I click this button, I can go to the history part and I will see this running in some seconds. Here it is. It will by default show me the app ID, the sheet ID, and some other information. But what we are going to use here is a list of parameters that we can include. You can include here the selections. It will automatically create a temporary bookmark. But in our case, for this demo, I will do something different. I will create a variable, and I will call this vMessage. Okay, and I also have created vEmail. So I'll leave this button here on the bottom. And now let's bring the variable input. And this is where we are going to save, actually type our comment. And this will be a variable. We will modify the vMessage variable. This means that if I enter something here, like hello, this is now changing the value of this variable. So I can use it in objects or basically anywhere. If I use it in a KPI, I can still see that just like any other thing, like vMessage. And this is the way we solve variables where we declare them in expressions. And click, okay. Here it is. Now we are going to use this in the parameters when we pass or click on this button. Now let me just delete this. So in button, inside the automation, scroll down and you can first tick this box because the mode that we are running this automation is triggered. And we can add parameters. So let's add here a parameter. The key is the name of the field that we are passing. So this could be message. And the value is the variable that we just created. So first part, now when I click this button, it will execute the automation and it will pass the message. So we should be able to see right here the output of our block, it has the message that we sent. Now, second step would be to do the same thing, but with an email or recipient. So let's do the same thing. I will create here another variable input. Now with the email, and this will be the address, and we'll also include this in the parameter. So let's add another parameter. And if I enter my email address here and click this button, the automation will receive both the message and the email address, as you can see right here. And we can use this in the other blocks. So the next step is to go back to the automation part, and there's a block specifically to send emails. We'll click here, bring this block, send mail. In 2, we can just refer to the parameters that were received by the start block. But first, you need to create a connection. I already have my connection created, so I just need to click here. If you need to create one, just click here, go through the steps, set up the SMTP host and all the other configurations. So going back to this part, in 2, I can click here, go to output from start, and it will show me what was received in the past. So I can just click here in the 2. The type, in this case, we are going to use an HTML email. And the subject, if you want to add here other variables to do that, so add subject and other parameters, you can do that. But in this case, I will just say test email demo video. Okay. And the body will be the message. So as you can see, the content just disappeared. And sometimes this is annoying. I don't know exactly why this happens, but the way to solve this is that I normally do is like this. I click this button. It will show me how Qlik understands the parameters. So I can copy this. I can go back to the body. And basically, it's referring to the start block, which is right here, and the name of the field. So instead of email, I'm going to use message. And that's it. Now I can go back to the friendly visualization mode. If I go back here, actually, first let me save this. Now, if I click this button, I will receive in my email exactly this. Let me just bring it to show you. I just got this in my mailbox. This is the email that I'm using. The Infinity team set it up for me. And hello world, which is what I typed here in this variable. So I think this is already worth your like. Don't forget to hit the like button. But let's continue. So next step is to prettify this body. I'm not an HTML expert, but we can always ask Claude or GPT to create a nice HTML for us. This is what I'm doing now, asking Claude to create an HTML template to be used in an email body. And I will pass 2 parameters, the document number and the message. So let's see what it will create. In the meantime, let's just add here another parameter in this button, which is the document number that I have here. So I'll call it doc number, and the value will be the field itself. So in order for this to work, I can only have one possible selection, okay, because otherwise it will be no. And we can always create here an expression or a condition to enable this chart. In this case, it's visible or it's active. But if I do get possible selection of doc number equals to 1, so this will only be visible or active when doc number, or I have one possible doc number. There's probably a typo here. Get possible count, sorry. There we go. So it's not active. I can't do anything on this button right now, but if I click on one specific doc number, here it is. Let me go back to Claude. I have now this kind of template, and I can copy the template, go back here, and replace this part. Let's see if it will work as expected. and it already replaced here the parameters. I can now click save, and this is my first comment. And click here in this button. It will trigger the automation. Now let's see if the email will be pretty as we expect. Here it is, document number, the one that I just clicked on. And my comment was wrong because I think it just messed up the parameters that I set here. Going back to the block, I just need to replace this is document number, this is correct. And here it is actually email. It's not email, it should be message. I think when I passed the instructions, I was wrong. So this now should be correct. I can go back to history, retry, and now I have the correct comment with the correct number. So this is a very interesting way to do some like kind of notification for your users. Now let me show you the other part of the video, which is how I built this with Infinity. And you'll probably wonder, why would you need something like this if you can do the same with variables? When you're dealing with like 1 or 2 fields, it's not hard to think about this. But when you're dealing with multiple fields and you want to visualize everything that happened, controlling who changed what, when, go back to the history, and also using the same tool, you can create something like this, like a budget inside your apps or many other features. This is the way to go. So let me show you how to do that. Once you installed Infinity, and if you don't know how to install it, you can just check my other videos here or the Infinity channel. Here in this table, let me just remove these variables, 1 second. First step is that I will convert this table into an Infinity table. Going to custom objects, general form. Actually, I will just create it from scratch. So I'll just drag it into this part, and my key field is doc number. Then we can add all the other fields like doc type, doc party name, and all the others that we have here on the top. I just added the dimensions that I wanted and the measures. The key field in this case is doc number. So everything that I save when I add more fields or editable fields will be related to this doc number. Now in form configuration, I can click here and add new fields. We have multiple field types, and this I will just replicate what I had on the other sheet. So the first one is a checkbox that I can call assigned or whatever. So this was assigned to someone. We can customize with some other things. And the other field is a text, right, with the comments. So I'll just call it notes. We can increase the width. And now I need to add here some buttons. Or actually, in this case, in this example, we are just going to add one button, which will be email. Let me first go to actions. By default, when we add an action in Infinity, the button goes to the top as a toolbar button. And if I add here email, this is the label, and the label is here now. But I want to change this to a row button. We can activate this action in many other ways, but in our case, it will be by clicking on a row. So row button, and now let's define what will happen when we click on this row, or actually on the button that is in the row. Here in configure actions, actually, let me go one step back. In form configuration, together with the other fields, I can click here in add field, and we have action button. This is where we create this button. The column name could be anything. I'll just call it button. The label doesn't matter, so normally I just use a blank space like this. And the sequence or action sequence is here. The name of my sequence is email, so I can just select from here. And here's the button. Now, when I click here, it will execute whatever is inside this set of actions. Now let's configure actions. And just like Qlik, we have the same list with more options. One of them is run QAA or execute automation. We can find the automation from here. In my case, it's my first automation. And I can add the input parameters. Just like what we saw before with the button, it's basically the same thing. Let me go back to the automation to see the name of the fields that we are using here. One of them is email, like this, and the other is doc number. This is what we are going to use here in the parameters. And we can do that by just doing doc number like this and referring to the object. When we use Infinity, the fields we can refer to the fields inside the object. So I can go to column order and find the reference of the dimensions and measures. I can copy this formula reference, go back here, and paste it in here. And with this sign here, I can add the other parameter, which would be the email or whatever we want to pass. In this case, the email will be v-email. I will still stick with the email that we were using the variable. And the content, which would be message equals to, in this case, notes, it would be referred as notes like this. So row.notes, because editable fields, they can carry the name of the field itself. Now, when I click apply, let's see what happens when I execute it. So first, let me just unplug this, go to the history, click here and say 1, 2, 3, click here in email, go back to automation and see if it will be executed. Here it is, and the parameters are here: doc number, email, and message. And we can add more things. One of them, I want to click on this button, send the automation, and mark this as assigned. In actions, let's configure a second action. After this happens, I want another thing to happen, which is set the cell value. I can specify the column that I want to modify, which in this case is assigned. When this checkbox is marked, the value is 1. So I'll just assign this with 1. And that's pretty much it. That's what is going to happen. And actually, I can also just save the values in Infinity. Okay, so when I click this button, this email button, these 3 things will happen. And another thing that we can do is to change the color or the background of these fields according to the value of assigned. I will go to more options. Background color, I can change this with a form field expression. And in this case, if this is equals to 1, I want a gray background here on the other part. So I can use an if statement. If the row in this field here assigned is equals to 1, I want to use a color, and I use a tool here in my computer called snip paste, where I can just get the colors from something on my screen. So if this happens, I want this to be gray. Now I can hit apply, and let's see. If I say this is my test, I can click here in email. Before I do that, let me just go back and connect these 2 blocks. Click here in email. It will trigger the automation. Then it will check this box in assigned and change the color of the background here. So this has now been concluded. I just received the email. And here it is. This is my test, and this will be saved for all the users in my app. They will see the same thing. They can all use the same thing. So this is quite useful too. And that's it for this video, guys. If you like this kind of content, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. I have other videos here about Qlik that can teach you something new. And I see you in the next one. Thank you.